this time, please welcome to the stage EAA's CEO and Chairman of the Board, Jack Pelton.
Well, thank you and welcome. Tonight, the Hall of Fame Awards are always a very special evening for us at EAA. And tonight we're privileged to induct 5 outstanding members of the aviation community into our Hall of Fame. It's a very select group that has had an incredibly positive impact on our aviation community. Let me go through the names of who we're inducting. Vic Syracuse for Homebuilders, Daryl Berry for Warbirds, Rob Holland for IAC, Mark Holliday for Vintage, and Dave Cronk for Ultralights. There we go. We'll see if we can get this crowd livened up. Now, those of you who have been here kind of understand it can sometimes be a wild ride. And because some of the inductees have stories that are just absolutely incredible, and you start to find out about them and some of their careers and history of what they've done. And I always walk away, my wife and I always, it seems like later in the evening, talk about, I had no idea, or that was incredible, or just interesting things that happen. I would like to ask any of our former inductees that are here tonight to please stand. Thank you for coming back and supporting this event. It's really important. Your vision, dedication, and inspiration have helped us to propel to where we are today. And I'd also like to extend a welcome to all of our boards and council members that are here this evening. So the first award for the evening before we get into dinner is to recognize this year's recipient of the Henry Kimberly Spirit of Leadership Award. I'd like to acknowledge the past recipients of that award in the audience. Could you please stand to accept our gratitude for your contributions to EAA. This award was created through a generous endowment by Don Jones. The Henry Kimberly Spirit of Leadership Award is given annually to an Oshkosh area EAA volunteer who exemplifies the best of EAA and volunteerism. It is named after the late Henry Kimberly, an Oshkosh business leader who was among those enthusiastically supporting EAA in convincing Paul to bring the fly-in to Oshkosh in 1970 and the EAA headquarters to relocate here in the 1980s. He continued to be an avid supporter of EAA and our programs until his death in 2011. We're pleased to have with us tonight Tom and Dinah Kimberly to assist in the presentation of the award. So Tom, can you please come up on stage and join me?
Hello, Jack. Good to see you again. I can't see you. I see you.
Good to see you. This year, we're proud to recognize Phil Merkel, lifetime member 81276, with the Henry Kimberly Spirit of Leadership Award. When we think of a volunteer that's deserving of an award, our recipient is the type of person that immediately comes to mind. He embodies the very spirit of what volunteerism means. Many times, people volunteer for a short period, and then they move on to do other activities. But that's not the case with Phil. He's volunteered for not just years, but decades. Serving as part of the flight line operation team in the North 40 since its inception, he spent countless hours as a steadfast volunteer, the vice chairman, and the co-chairman. Phil has served in support of AirVenture, but he has also been an integral part of the chapter family as well. He joined EA Chapter 444 in 1972 and went on to serve as the chapter secretary and vice president. He's currently a member of local chapter 252 here in Oshkosh. However, volunteering in the North 40 and the local chapters didn't keep Phil busy enough. He also decided to step up as a museum docent and Pioneer Airport shuttle driver, volunteering hundreds of hours of his time. Chris Henry, our museum director, had this to say about Phil. I feel that Phil is a perfect ambassador for EAA, and especially the museum. If I had an army of Phils, I could take over the world. His longtime dedication to EAA isn't just measured in quantity, it's also in quality. He always provides a warm welcome to our visitors and tours them and sees them as interesting people of all ages that he wants to make sure they have a great experience. I'm very proud to call Phil one of my team and consider him as a friend. Other comments made about Phil further illustrate what an outstanding ambassador he is to the museum. They shared, and I quote, "He keeps going with a smile on his face and a story for every guest that comes to the museum. On days we don't have a docent, he will come in if we call him. Phil stands up and interacts with all ages with a friendly greeting and offer to get them started in exploring the museum. He worked AirVenture with great energy, even at the end of the week when we were all just wiped out. He is the best." Such kind words like that reflect true character of Phil. Phil, please join me on stage to accept your award.
Remember, I never say hi with your first name.
There you go.
Get a hold of this so I don't drop it.
We got a little photo up.
Oh,
Okay.
Want me to hold that while you say a few words?
I'm going to say very little.
Oh, come on, Phil.
I'd like to meet that guy they described. He sounds a lot better than I feel that. I feel I was just doing things I like to do, having fun, meeting people. For instance, 2 days ago, I meet two gentlemen from Mexico City. Why are they up here in the wintertime? They're going to the Packers game. And one of them said, "This gentleman here wanted to see snow." Now, this guy was in his 50s. I says, "You should have been in Chicago yesterday." We were. And then we came up to Green Bay today, but stopping here at EAA. Also 2 days ago, I had a couple come in and they were not going to the Packer game. They came from Turkey. That's the neat thing about here. You get to meet people from all over the world. There was another few people that were in the museum 2 days ago from a town called Philadelphia. I'm not quite sure why they were here. I thank you all, and I sure met a lot of nice people in the last few years, whatever they were, from 1972 on. So enjoy your meal, and congratulations to all the inductees to the EAA Aviation Hall of Fame. Thank you.
All right, that was, some people also, you might not be aware that Phil is also a TikTok contributor. He does his own TikTok videos in the museum, which I've seen many of them. And it's very, very funny. Well, EAA was founded in 1953 as a club for people interested in building their own airplanes. Since that time, EAA's mission has expanded to include many different type aircraft, the people who fly them, and those who dream of flight. Homebuilding is still a primary focus. The inductees into the Homebuilders Hall of Fame are individuals who have promoted the spirit that keeps the amateur-built aircraft movement alive and strong. This year's Homebuilding Hall of Fame inductee is certainly epitomizes what that's all about, and it's Vic Syracuse. I'd like to ask Dave Nelson of Homebuilt Council to join me on stage in the award presentation.
Vic Syracuse is a 12-time aircraft builder, having built multiple RVs, 3 Kit Foxes, a Just Aircraft Super Stol, a Prescott Pusher, and a Hummingbird helicopter. In addition, he has performed numerous pre-buy inspections for prospective buyers of home-built aircraft. His articles in Kit Planes and EAA Sport Aviation magazines and others have helped thousands of home-built aircraft owners with maintenance issues. In addition, his video content on YouTube and his books on aircraft maintenance and pre-purchase advice are valued resources among aircraft builders. Vic is a commercial pilot and CFII with time in more than 70 types. He's also an ANPIA, a designated airworthiness representative, and an EAA technical counselor and flight advisor. In addition to being the founder and owner of Base Leg Aviation, Vic has served as the chairman of EAA's Homebuilt Aircraft Council and was honored in 2022 with the prestigious Tony Bengelis Award, which recognizes EAA technical counselors for dedicated service and significant contributions. As a volunteer pilot, Vic has flown more than 350 EAA Young Eagles flights. Please join us in congratulating Vic Syracuse on his induction into the EAA Homebuilders Hall of Fame.
Come on up, Vic.
I get to talk. Yes, you do. No, I get to talk. Want to talk about jam nuts? So this is beyond my wildest dreams to be up here tonight. Thank you. Probably, like everybody out there, I got sucked into aviation and knew I wanted to fly at a very young age. I got my first model airplane in 3rd grade. And growing up in the 60s, we all saw Walter Cronkite or NASA on the TV every night. And I knew I wanted to be a fighter pilot or an astronaut. Well, 5th grade came along, and the nurse sent me home to see the eye doctor, Mrs. Moldovan. I think I saw her later in life playing Frau Brucker in Young Frankenstein. And so 5th grade, I got not only told I couldn't see, I got kicked out of the choir. So I couldn't fly, couldn't sing. That was a rough 5th grade. But I still kept going to the library weekly, rode my bicycle or walked, and read every book I could find on aviation. I tried to keep that dream alive. And actually, you know, you don't get this far without some help. Right? And I owe my thanks to both a person and an organization. My wife, Carol, we went to grade school actually together, but she wouldn't have anything to do with me then. She said I was too geeky. Today she looks back and says, you know, you had hair. Okay? So we didn't get to see much of each other then, but back in college we got back together. And we started dating, decided perhaps we're going to spend the rest of our life together. I went on to join the Air Force. I figured if I couldn't fly them and build them, I could at least be around them. She was smart enough to stay in college and finish her degree in chemistry. We got back together before I got out of the Air Force for about 1.5 years. I was stationed out at Davis-Monthan. And I'd given up on learning to fly. I figured that dream was just not going to happen. And we're married about a month, and Carol gets a letter from back home. Some aunt left her $1,000. And I looked at her and said, I'd like to learn to fly. And she said she wanted a sewing machine. Those were the two best investments we ever made, okay? And I got out of the Air Force, and trying to find a flying job back in the late 70s was very difficult, but I was the first flight instructor that Embry-Riddle hired for their Prescott campus. Unfortunately, it was October, and school didn't start until January. And I'm not one to sit around and just wait for something to happen. Back then, we had newspapers where you look for a job, and I found an ad for a field tech, and I thought, well, I can fix things for a couple months. And I went and it was a blind interview, and it turned out to be Hewlett-Packard. And the pay was twice Embry-Riddle, and the first day I showed up, they said, you got to order a new car. Now, I never had a new car in my life. I said, I just got out of the Air Force. I got a Gremlin. I'm happy with it. Okay. They said, no, it's free, and you get to drive it all you want. And we had a sick baby, about a month old, and I decided, you know what? This aviation thing, again, is going to get up on a back burner. And I spent 35 years in technology. But I didn't give up on that aviation dream. And I think we were back home in about 2 years into family life, and one day Private Pilot magazine came home. And I was there for dinner and sitting on the table. And I said, boy, I'd really like to build an airplane someday. It was a childhood dream since I saw that teeny 2 when I was in grade school on the cover of Popular Mechanics. And my wife, Carol, says, why don't you quit talking about it? I know not too many husbands probably hear that from their wives when it comes to ordering an airplane. And I had to pinch myself, but the very next day I called Dick Van Grunsen. And we talked, and I had an airplane on order, and I think I drove him nuts for the next 2 years. Right? It's been a ride, 35 years in technology. And again, when our youngest son left home, I looked at Carol and said, I really don't like this corporate world stuff. My heart's in aviation. And she knew that, having built all those airplanes. I think they kept me sane while I was in the corporate world. And so I left the corporate world and just kind of spent the last few years trying to give back. And it's been a blast. But the most important thing I think that's happened, besides having Carol be so super supportive, is the best friends that we have in life have been met here at Oshkosh. My first Oshkosh was 1981, after I'd already ordered this RV-4. I'd never heard of it. And the people in this organization is just absolutely amazing. And we sit here and we talk about how far it's come. And my favorite thing is doing the Young Eagles program, because I know there's so many kids out there today that are just like us. And in the not too distant future, I think they'll be right here in this room taking our places. So it's really important, I think, to keep that dream alive from a very young age. It worked for me. I've been very, very lucky. I keep thinking somebody's going to pinch me and wake me up, quite candidly. But thank you. Thank you very much, Jack.
EAA's Warbirds of America recognizes individuals who have made outstanding contributions to preserve the history and heritage of military aircraft. The Warbirds are dedicated to keeping alive the memory of those aircraft, pilots, and crews, and personnel who stayed home to build the aircraft. True to the Warbird members' slogan, "Keep 'em flying," inductees into the Hall of Fame have left an impact on military aviation that will live on for many, many years. This year's Warbirds of America Hall of Fame inductee is Darryl Berry. I'd like to ask EAA Warbirds President Mike Anderson to assist me with the presentation.
Darrell Berry was a member of the EAA Tennessee Warbirds 1st Squadron, a founding member of the Ridge Runner flight team, and a lead pilot for the T-34 Association's FAST team. As the owner of BMT Aviation, his passion for collecting, restoring, and flying vintage military aircraft included nearly 24 Warbirds, featuring several T-34s, T-6s, AT-11s, helicopters, and a Grumman TBM Avenger, which was the crown jewel of his fleet. An Army and Marine Corps veteran, he became a pilot in 1978, had a commercial certificate, an instrument rating, and as a private pilot had a multi-engine rating and a helicopter certificate. Darrell ultimately logged more than 8,000 hours of flying in his career. He was also the owner of Berry Machine and Tool in Lawton, Oklahoma, a tire mold repair company which serviced the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company's largest global plant for more than 35 years. EAA and Warbirds of America were saddened to learn of Darrell's death in mid-October. Please join us as we remember Darrell Berry during his posthumous induction into the EAA Warbirds of America Hall of Fame.
Accepting on behalf of Darrell Berry is his grandson, Bryce Seaton. Please join us on stage, Bryce.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Bryce Seaton, and I'm honored to be here tonight, accepting this recognition on behalf of my grandfather, Darrell Berry. He was an avid pilot, but not only that, he was a perfectionist, and for those who knew him, probably the most hard-headed person you ever met. He kept his circle small, that's how he liked it. And the people he let in, he was loyal to for life. He didn't sugarcoat much, and if you ever asked for his opinion, you better be ready for the truth. No matter how much he made you mad, just about 99% of the time he was right, and if he was mistaken, he made sure you still knew he was right. But that honesty and toughness is what made people respect him, and if he said something, it was worth listening to, and people knew that, and they respected the man behind the words. He loved to fly, and he could talk about aviation and warbirds for hours. It was his happy place, and he inspired me to get into aviation. And coming to AirVenture every year, I heard plenty of stories about him and his friends getting into mischief at just about every single flying possible. So on behalf of my family, I want to thank the Warbirds of America and EAA for honoring him, and to friends and fellow aviators who respected and learned from him, thank you.
All right, the International Aerobatic Hall of Fame recognizes those men and women who have made outstanding contributions to aerobatic flying. As a pilot, a judge, an engineer, an inventor, a builder, an administrator, or an innovator. Aerobatics is a unique blend of pilot and machine. Inductees into the Hall of Fame have made a significant impact on aerobatic flying. This year's Aerobatic Hall of Fame inductee is Rob Holland. I would ask IAC's President Jim Burke to join me for this presentation.
Legendary air show and aerobatic competition pilot Rob Holland became interested in flying when his parents would take him to military air shows. After flight training, he jumped at any opportunity to fly, ultimately logging more than 15,000 hours in more than 180 different types of aircraft. He worked as a flight instructor for air show and aerobatic pilot Mike Goulian, worked as a banner tow and ferry pilot, flew commercial and commuter airplanes, as well as private and corporate jets. He also formed his own flight academy, Aerial Advantage Aviation. In 2002, Rob became an active participant in air shows around the country, and in 2007, he acquired his signature one-of-a-kind MXS RH aerobatic airplane. Over the course of the last 2 decades, Rob was named an honorary Canadian Snowbird and Blue Angel, received the Art Scholl Award for Sportsmanship, and was awarded more than 38 national and international medals. He also earned 13 consecutive U.S. National Championships, 14 U.S. National Freestyle Championships, and 6 World Freestyle Championships. In addition, Rob was the driving force in securing the 2026 World Aerobatic Championships for Batavia, New York. The airshow and aerobatic competition communities were saddened by Rob's sudden death in an aircraft accident in April 2025. Please join us as we remember Rob Holland and honor him with induction into the EAA International Aerobatic Club Hall of Fame.
Accepting on behalf of Rob Holland is Mary Beth Holland. Please join us on stage, Mary Beth.
I am Rob's way less cool sister, so sorry. On behalf of my family, I want to thank the IAC for honoring my big brother with this induction. I know Rob would have accepted this tremendous recognition with that familiar, bashful grin, deeply honored and just a little embarrassed by all of the attention. He would have wanted to thank everyone here today, our parents, Bob and Cheryl, his partner and love of his life, Jennifer, Dr. Coleman and Kevin Coleman and the Coleman family, of course, Michael Goulian, Bill Stein, Ashley Udick, his coach, Claude Bessiere, and all of his close friends and family who have supported and cheered for him every step of the way. Rob's passion for aerobatics was truly inspiring. He dedicated his life to pushing the boundaries of what was possible, and sometimes what seemed impossible. And he did it with focus and a deep love for this incredible art form. He strived to be better than he was the day before, saying that he would only compete until he stopped having fun or he couldn't get any better. He had his sights set on the 2026 World Championships and was so grateful to the IAC for giving him the stage to grow and chase his dream. While we lost Rob far too soon and miss him every day, every second of every day, his legacy will continue to inspire others. To really make their dreams come true, but that same grit and joy he brought to every flight. Thank you.
EA's Vintage Aircraft Association's Hall of Fame recognizes outstanding efforts to preserve aviation's early days. Encouragement and aid in restoration, construction techniques, repairs, maintenance, and preservation of antique and classic airplanes and engines are some of the goals. Inductees into the Hall of Fame are persons who have distinguished themselves among antique and classic enthusiasts. This year's Vintage Aircraft Aviation Hall of Fame inductee is Mark Holliday. John Hoffman, if you'd join me up here on stage.
Mark Holliday grew up in aviation and soloed 26 airplanes on his 16th birthday. 8 days after he earned his private on his 17th birthday, he flew a Mooney Mite from Hastings, Minnesota to the final EAA fly-in at Rockford, Illinois. That was 1969, and he hasn't missed an EAA convention since. Likely the youngest Swift pilot in the nation at the time, Mark flew his GC-1A to the Swift fly-in at Ottumwa, Iowa, where he won a trophy. That was the genesis of a long list of award-winning airplanes that Mark has rescued, revived, and/or restored. Early on, Mark flew for his family's FBO, Elmo Aero, at Lake Elmo, Minnesota. He delivered airplanes to customers in every state in the nation except Hawaii, logging nearly 1,500 hours by the time he was 21. Mark flew aerobatic routines in his Swift at air shows for 25 years and is highly regarded in the Swift community for his extensive knowledge and expertise. Mark flew a series of World War I replicas as chief pilot for the Vintage Aero Flying Museum in Fort Lupton, Colorado, and those are just a few of the more than 200 types that he's flown. He currently owns a 210 horsepower Swift, a Texas Bullet, a Myers 200D, a Monocoupe, a Mullacoupe, and a Night Twister. Please join us in congratulating Mark Holliday on his induction into the EAA Vintage Aircraft Association Hall of Fame.
Mark, come on up.
need a little help here. Thank you all for being here to show your support for all of us who are being inducted this evening. I pretty much grew up around the airport and started working at my parents' FBO. Ward and Polly were my parents. They were both pilots, and flying just kind of came naturally to me. That was a good thing since I didn't know how to do much of anything else. Just when I was 16, my dad put me in the left seat of a Swift and checked me out. And then I gave one of our instructors a ride. He'd never been in a Swift, but he had to go so he could sign off my student certificate so I was legal. I'm very proud to be a lifetime EAA and Vintage member. Many of who mentored me have gone west, but I always try to be grateful for those who took me under their wing, and I've tried to do the same for others. And I've met some unforgettable aviators, such as Jim Yonkin, Ann Pellegrino, Forrest Lovely, to name a very few. I've also had some unforgettable experiences, such as my first forced landing in the Casset, which I saw a picture of up there when the crankshaft broke. And other unforgettable, flying a 1928 Laird and the Curtiss Pusher and the World War I replicas. But the most unforgettable experience was during Marginal's first ditch fly-in this year. I'd never been so stunned when John Hoffman announced my induction during the fly-in. For me to be included in the Vintage Hall of Fame is overwhelming. I'm deeply humbled by this honor. Thank you.
EAA's Ultralight Hall of Fame recognizes outstanding individuals and groups for their pioneering efforts, dedicated service, and significant contributions to ultralight aviation. The honor is a national celebration of exemplary achievements bestowed upon a select few whose visionary talent carved a unique niche in the history of manned flight and therefore deserve extraordinary notice. This year's Ultralight Hall of Fame inductee is Dave Kronk. I'd like Gene Bourne, chair of the Ultralights Council, to join me for the presentation.
In 1972, David Kronk transformed Bob Lovejoy's initial Quicksilver prototype into a product, launching a line of the safest and best-selling rigid-wing hang gliders of the 1970s, bringing full structural analysis and flight testing into the industry. As rigid-wing hang gliders became obsolete, Dave adapted his fully proven Quicksilver glider designs to powered ultralights, creating the Weight Shift Quicksilver, the MX, MXL, Sprint, and GT series. In 1994, the GT500 became the first ultralight type aircraft certified as an LSA. Today, his tube, bolt, and sewn Dacron sleeve construction is widely accepted and remains fundamental to many modern ultralight aircraft designs. His core belief was to keep the construction of these aircraft as simple as possible, requiring no special construction skills. In addition to his work with Quicksilver, Dave won the 1975 Hang Gliding World Championship in Austria in a glider of his own design. His Cumulus 10 hang glider is on permanent display at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum's Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center in Virginia. Dave was elected to the Francis Rogallo Kitty Hawk Hall of Fame and developed inflatable military structures for the U.S. Army, earning him the U.S. Army Greatest Inventions Award. Dave continues to serve as an active consultant for several ultralight aircraft companies, as well as the U.S. Department of Defense, NASA, and SpaceX. Please join us in congratulating David Cronk on his induction into the EAA Ultralights Hall of Fame.
No tripping. Very good, Ron. Thanks, Chairman. Yep. Point to the camera. Thank you.
Well, I just learned Jack and I have a lot in common. We both grew up in the beaches of Southern California surfing back in the 60s, so it's very exciting to hear that. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's an amazing honor to be here tonight. It truly is. Now, I was going to wing this little talk here, but I might refer to my notes. My aviation career started from the bottom up. Like a lot of young teenagers, I love cars. So in 1969, I was following my dream of designing cars. I was going to the best school in America to achieve that end. And I was set to go to Detroit and work for maybe GM in the advanced design group, maybe design Corvettes, do cool stuff. And like the poet Robert Burns said, the best laid plans of mice and men. In 1969, some friends told me about people flying these ridiculous contraptions off the beaches of Southern California. So I went and saw for myself. Now, these contraptions were bamboo, agricultural plastic, and they were bound together with electrical wire. But these guys were having a great time. They were jumping off these cliffs. If a wing broke off, they would laugh, fall into the sand. It was just more fun. And then I thought, you know, I bet you I could design something better. That pivotal thought changed the rest of my life. I started designing some of these hang gliders, and shortly thereafter, I became a partner in iPerformance with Dick Eiper. We became the largest hang glider manufacturer in the world at the time. By that time, my automotive dreams were dead. My dad was a aerospace executive for TRW at the time. And when I decided to change my life from automotive design to hang gliders, he was not amused. I mean, not happy at all. But he had the presence not to complain to me or whine. He just toughed it out. His friends told me that he was extremely concerned, but he would never say it to my face. So from there, I evolved those hang gliders into the Quicksilver hang gliders, and we came up with these production Quicksilver gliders that were at the pinnacle of hang glider design of the time. They were fully proven. I hired the best engineers I could find to do structural analysis and flight testing, and we had a great product. But by the late 70s, the Quicksilver gliders became obsolete. The flexible wings began to eclipse the performance. And, you know, the days were numbered. Long story short, some investors bought the company just at the advent of motors, and the timing couldn't have been more perfect. We had a fully proven rigid wing glider that was perfect for motors. And within a year or two, sales went through the roof. I started improving designs. At the peak of the industry in the early 80s, I think we were doing 300 kits a month, just crazy stuff. Now, to this day, there are thousands of these things still flying 45 years later. And some are still being manufactured. And one of the things that attribute to the success of this design was I test flew every single prototype myself. And I also test flew the iterations to get them just perfect. And, you know, I survived that, which is something. And, you know, the famous actor and philosopher Harvey Keitel once said, you don't pick your passion, it picks you. Well, how about that? How did I know I would go from designing cars to start at the bottom of aviation and end up designing these aircraft that are still flying today? And later on in life, I ended up working for aerospace companies designing re-entry vehicles and machines for Mars atmospheres. And anyway, I think my dad's happy. If you could be, I think he's looking down tonight and saying, well, you did okay, son. I just want to say thank you to the EAA and the selection board. Without the EAA, it would be a much colder world. So I'm just ecstatic to be here. Thank you.
That was a fascinating era that Dave grew up in and developed, and I encourage you all to go Google the YouTube documentary called Blue Skies, and it really talks about, which Dave is instrumental in that documentary, of what that was all about. And what we were both talking about is what that culture was in Southern California to do these crazy things like jump off a sand dune with a wing on your back, and where it went in the free spirit of it. But something to think about for this weekend, to go watch that. Where was I? I think I probably got to get back on track, or my team's gonna say, here he goes again. He's wandering. I want to make sure we appreciate and thank everyone who participated in tonight's program. My team at EAA, I think Rose and I have been to an awful lot of banquets and events and presentations, and we still think we're so proud of how EAA does it. It's always such a nice evening and well orchestrated and well developed. So thank you to everybody who's a participant in making this all happen. Of course, those of you who we honored tonight and those that we've honored in the past that are already inducted, you represent really the breadth of aviation, the reach, and the spirit of flight that pulls us all together. And I think that theme came out clear tonight, that this is a special community and a special culture that's all bound together by EAA. And we thank Paul for making that all happen, and for the rest of us for honoring that and keeping it going. So thank you to Paul. Have a great rest of your evening. Be safe, stay warm, and looking forward to the holidays, and see you in July. Take care.